Hi, I'm Kiefer Kleister with the Smithtown Recreation Department's windsurfing program. On today's KISS program, Bay Constable Charlie Malloy will give you a few tips for paddleboard safety and what you need to know. There's been a number of recent accidents involving paddleboards, and here's what you needed to know about them to keep it safe, Smithtown.
Paddleboard, it looks very much like a surfboard. It tends to be a bit longer than the average surfboard, and people stand up on it and they have a one-pole paddle. What's happened is, with the population of paddleboarding increasing every year as a recreational vessel, the Coast Guard in the state of New York have deemed it a vessel under the rules and regulations. And what's happening is it now has to meet certain requirements that a boat would have met. They don't have to register it as a registration. That deals with a vessel that has a motor on it for propulsion. They don't. But should they put a electric type motor on there, or be it battery operated or what have you, they then actually do become a motorized vessel and should be registered and have to meet all the requirements of the vessel and the rules and regs. The definition of vessel causes them to have life preservers during certain times of the season. The rules are 12 and under, they have to wear a life preserver, PFD, all the time while operating a paddleboard. Adult, again, you have the exclusion. You're aged out of it where it's not mandated that you wear it, but you have to have it available. During the winter months, it's mandated by an adult to wear the life preserver while operating the paddlecraft. We recommend that they carry, and even better, that they wear the PFD while they're operating the paddleboard outside of the recreational areas. If you're offshore, your ability to put on a life preserver while treading water becomes very difficult. And what we tell a lot of people to do, if you think it's easy and you have a pool, jump in your pool and try to put a life preserver on while you're treading water in the deep end, and you see how difficult it is. The other issues that we would like to see you do is wearing a wetsuit or a dry suit, particularly during the winter times. It's mandated that you wear a personal flotation device, but the months before and the months afterwards, that water can cool off. Like right now, we're about ready to turn into the month of June. Your survival time in this water is about an hour at this point. So, you have to lobby for your own safety. They have to have a light suitable for identifying themselves in inclement and dark weather. They're also supposed to have a whistle capable of drawing attention should there be a dangerous situation. That's what's drawn attention where the state has now classified them as a vessel, was that the fatality rate has gone up. As the population of paddleboarding has increased in the Northeast region, I believe in paddlecrafts alone, they've had approximately 28 deaths. The issue with the paddleboard is that when people are out and they're way off the shoreline in deeper waters, and should they fall off or be knocked off for any reason, be it awake from a passing boat, the paddleboard is a surface craft, so if the wind catches it and the current catches it and starts to move it away from you, you're going to have to swim after it. And what happens is that the more you try to pursue it, the more energy you burn, the weaker you become, and that's when the fatality tends to present itself. If you're out there and should you fall off the board, the thing to do, first and foremost, don't panic. Assess where you are and where the paddleboard is. Get an idea where you think it's going. Assess your energy. How strong are you? Have you been paddling for hours and your upper arm strength is weak? You're going to have to take that in consideration. Pace yourself. If you have to go for the board, go for the board. If it's easy to go to land or to a shallow shoal area, go for that. You're going to have to know where you are. Study the body of water. We recommend that you get a lanyard. It's not obligated by law, but we recommend it as a safety feature. Again, should you fall off into the water, the wind is blowing, the current is running, you're going to have to try and swim to this. But if it's attached to you, you can pull on the lanyard and you have this paddleboard there for you to climb on. If you're going to go far offshore, you can buy a portable VHF radio, which has channel 16, which is monitored by both the United States Coast Guard, Suffolk County Police Marine Bureau, and the Smithtown Bay Constables. You can get them for less than $100, some of them, and they're all completely waterproof. That would be something to carry with you. Again, have it attached to you around your neck, some sort of a waist holster, and that way if something should happen, you could always use that to summons help. Because a cell phone is only going to work as long as it's dry. The thing you got to remember, if you're going to go offshore into areas, again, that are not normally used by recreational swimmers, you could be alone out there. And the best thing to do is be in some sort of a buddy system. If you're going to go out on a paddleboard or a kayak or even a canoe, if you have other people that are in the same hobbies as you, you should try to go out as a group. So if something happens to one of you, the second person can assist you or make notification to 911 and have emergency personnel respond. There's another piece of equipment which is something used for identification. It's a simple label that should be attached to a paddleboard, even a canoe, even a kayak. That gives you your contact information so that if we should find one out there and it drifted away from you or drifted away from the beach and there really is no emergency, we're able to contact you and verify that. Because if we find a kayak, a canoe, or a paddleboard floating out in the sound and we don't see anybody, that could be an indication that somebody could be lost out there, and we're going to end up having a search pattern conducted, and we could have a lot of resources out there trying to find somebody who's actually home and merely lost their property because it blew off the shoreline. A float plan could be anything as form as a written form that you submit to a family member or a friend, or you can drop off at the Bay Constable's office. And it basically says who you are, where you're going at what time, and when you plan on being back, and a way to communicate with you. And the idea is that if you're overdue, people know that you're not back, they know you're overdue, and they have the ability to tell first responders who you are, how to communicate with you, where you launched, and where you were planning on coming back from. So it gives us an area to start the search. And again, if it's in the middle of the winter, and you didn't have a lanyard, and you weren't wearing your life preserver, and you're out there treading water, the sooner we get first responders out there to make the grab and the rescue, the better chances of your survival is going to be. The weather conditions is something you should look up in advance before you go out. It may be nice when you're at the house and you may look up in the weather and find out there could be a storm coming in. So then again, you want to avoid going out in the water at all, for all reasons. The way the rules of the road are written, again, the state of New York has incorporated the inland rule, the coal regs used by the federal government. In there it spells out rules of the road. When you start looking at the idea of a paddleboarder, it doesn't really break down fine detail. It does, though, fall under Rule 2, and anybody who has a captain's license knows what that is. It's basically the rule of reasonableness. You have to understand that you're in a paddleboard and you're maybe in a navigable channel and there's going to be boats going by. As a person on a paddleboard, do you think it's reasonable for you to be there should you become the victim of being struck by a boat? Is it the boat's fault or is it your fault? That's going to be worked out in a court of law. But always remember rule number 2 when it comes to reasonableness. One of the biggest ways to avoid being the victim of a collision with a power vessel is that you have a whistle to draw attention to yourself so they can hear you if they don't see you. And the other one is referred to by the Coast Guard in the state of New York as a torch. It's a simple hand light, something that you can immediately illuminate and shine it so people can see you. As far as where you can go with a paddleboard, there's no restrictions. Where you go with a paddleboard dictates what type of equipment you're going to have. Again, if you're in the shoreline, in an area that's generally designated for swim area, the obligation for the torch, the lanyard, life preserver doesn't apply, excluding the 12-year-old section. But as far as going out in the Sound, going out in the Stony Brook Harbor, Nessaquag River, you can go anywhere you want. But again, you have to use reasonableness. Are you going to be operating a paddleboard in an area that's high traffic to motor vessels? You're not going to want to do that. Is it legally forbidden? No. But should something happen, the idea is they're going to look at rule number 2 and they're going to assess the conduct of both people. You're operating your vessel, paddleboard, he's operating his vessel, the powerboat, and they're going to decide who had the right of way. As with anything in the water, you don't want to be operating a vessel of any type under the influence of alcohol. In the state of New York, it's 0.08, considered to be legally intoxicated, which essentially boils down to 2 cans of beer. As far as I'm concerned with the paddle boards, I think the safest way to operate a paddle board is in a group. Always wear your life preserver, use a lanyard, always have the light, and always have a whistle available for you. And stay out of areas that are heavily trafficked by motor-powered vessels.
Follow these simple guidelines and you'll be able to enjoy your paddleboard safely. For KISS and the Smithtown Windsurfing Program, this is Kiefer Kleister, and keep it safe, Smithtown.